Forgive us, friends. Forgive us. This is a first. Okay. A little hold.
Alright, let's go live over here too.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
How long do we get this before it falls?
I
Alright.
don't know.
We're live on Instagram and on Facebook. Here we are. Woo! Alright, hello.
Hello, everyone. Across all the platforms.
Amazing. We have like 10 cameras set up around us here.
Right, if you're watching on YouTube, you have absolutely no idea what's going on right now, but it's pretty crazy. Pretty insane. I think, for the most part, you guys, we may or may not be looking like crazy people because we're trying to keep focus on 3 platforms at once. But this is going to be fun. For everybody, I'm Rachel. Hi.
And I'm Brandy, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 reasons why people do not feel successful.
Feel successful. Yes, this is our special video for all of the young dreamers out there and for all the people who are entrepreneurs or who are looking to accomplish something in life, and you're maybe wondering why you're stopped and why you're unable to accomplish some of those goals that you have for yourself. So we wanted to share some of our personal experiences with you, as well as talk about some of the reasons why we feel like we as people don't feel successful and we as people feel unable to accomplish the things that we really want. So.
And we're going to actually be defining 10 terms for you that we wish that we knew when we first started out following our dreams.
Yes. Please bear with us on these terms. We tried to be creative and also truthful at the same time.
So Rachel has an amazing music career, and she has a YouTube channel, and she empowers people and shares her art on a bunch of different platforms. And I have a life coaching business, and I host women's retreats, so we've really bonded over forging our own paths and being entrepreneurs and all the struggles that we come against when we're trying to follow our hearts, but yet we're not sure if we're doing it right or if we're doing enough, and we feel lost in the chaos.
Totally.
So we've defined these 10 terms over time, and now we're going to share them with you today.
Over time, it's in like a day.
Yeah.
But these are great terms. Hopefully you guys will be able to use some of these in your own life and kind of, I don't know, take advantage of them. But also, to give a little bit of a background on my friend Brandy, she's an amazing life coach. She's been working this past year on building her business, which is in life coaching, and she's amazing. Literally, she hosts all these awesome women's retreats and does so many great things to help people and help them in their lives. She's really just a rock star, and I feel so fortunate to have her as a friend. And yeah, like she said, we've kind of bonded over our similar experiences, as well as, fun fact, we went to college together. So that is kind of our connecting points. But yeah,
Rachel's a literal rock star. A literal rock star. She just performed in front of a crowd of how many?
I was like 100,000.
100,000. Casual. No big deal.
It's casual.
So she knows what's up. All right, so the first term that we have today is called progress amnesia. Progress amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think progress amnesia is when we are trying to accomplish our next challenge in whatever business we're in, and it really feels like it's the first thing that we've ever done. And we forget about all the stuff that we've succeeded in the past. We forget about all the accomplishments that we've had.
Yeah.
And it feels like if this doesn't work out, then we're just going to look like an absolute failure because it's like this amnesia of everything that we've done before. What would you add to that one?
I think the biggest thing for me is I start moving forward in life and accomplishing things and making things happen, and then I literally forget all of the other things that have come previously. So if I'm, at a certain stage of my career where I feel like things are maybe not going so well, it's really easy for me to kind of forget all of the things that have gone well up to that point. It's almost like you're so focused on being present, or you're so caught up in the moment, whatever that situation may be, that you completely disregard or discount all the accomplishments that have come before that. So for me, it's like those are things that it's really taking your success for granted. It's one of those things where you have to give yourself credit for all the things that you've done to get yourself to a certain point. And I think when we stop remembering those things and we like start to forget, basically have amnesia over all the things that we've accomplished in our lives, that like it makes it really easy to get down on yourself, especially in those moments where you're experiencing difficulty or struggle. It's like all of that stuff all of a sudden just like didn't happen. It's like I forget that I even have a bunch to be thankful for, have a bunch that I've accomplished, and I have to really, you know, reward myself and or just ease up on yourself. I think we get really hard on ourselves. So I think it's important just to take a minute and remember everything that you've done to get up to the point that you're at.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about this is that it's almost like the second that we accomplish something new, it doesn't matter anymore. It's like old news.
So true.
Like, an example I have of this is we just hosted a retreat in Hawaii that was totally filled. We had 15 women there, and when I first said that we would do that retreat, I was so scared. I was like, there's no way anybody is going to fly to Hawaii to attend a 4-day retreat with me. They don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
And then by the time it happened and all 15 women arrived, I was like, yeah, of course. All right, what's next? What are we going to do next? Now let's do a retreat with 25 women. Now let's do a live event with 200 people. And I didn't even stop to take a second to be grateful and recognize that I did that. I created that. It was just like already old news. And I think that's the same with this.
Oh, dude.
With you.
Literally, okay, so for those of you who don't know, I spent basically 3 months out of this year, 2017 thus far, traveling and being abroad in Europe. And I have so many people who, you know, want to hear about my stories and want to ask me about my experience when I come back. And it's like, to me, it's already over and done, such that I'm like, oh, you know, it's like you said, old news at that point. It's like, oh, whatever. I mean, yeah, I went to Europe and I traveled the world for like 3 months. And yeah, I got to perform in front of thousands and thousands of people. But like, what's next? Like, you know, it's like, yeah, it's so easy to forget those accomplishments and those major things. It's like, you don't take that moment. I don't know how we can do better at taking that moment. I feel like it is a thing of being present, which I think is important. It is important to be present, and it's important to, you know, really live. But you do have to give yourself credit. You got to take a moment and give yourself credit, because that's a big thing.
Yeah. And I think the other important thing to recognize about this is to remember that whatever the next level is that we really want, that we're pining for, we have to realize that once we get there, it's going to be significant for about 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
And
literally.
then it's going to be on to the next thing. So I think we have this sense of like, well, once I get there, you know, maybe for you, it was once I perform in front of 100,000 people, and then I'll have made it and I'll be just set for life.
Right.
When really that probably felt new and exciting to you for about 5 minutes while you're up there. And then you're like, all right, I'm bored of this already.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is progress amnesia in a nutshell. Basically, you are forgetting your progress and all that you've accomplished up to a certain point. But I do think it is important. I think one kind of, good thing to come out of progress amnesia is that ability to keep moving forward, keep setting new goals, and don't think that whatever level you've gotten to is it. Like, I think we should constantly be striving to go from level to level to level. I think it's just important that we take those moments to really pat ourselves on the back. Good job,
pat
Grant.
each other on
Or
the
pat
back.
each other on the back. Yeah. Okay, what's the next one?
All you.
Okay, cool. The next one is joy sabotage. So basically all of the ways that we sabotage our own happiness and our own joy. I think that actually progress amnesia goes really nicely with this one, because if you are someone who is of that mentality that's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, it's like if you're in a moment wherein, you know, great things are happening and life is going your way, or you're accomplishing great things, like you have to hold on to that. You have to be present to that, because otherwise it's so easy, I think, especially for anybody who is an achiever, to kind of be ready to move on such that you're not even being present to the wonderful things that are happening in your life at this current moment. And so I think that's probably the biggest way that I look at joy sabotage, is just thinking about all those times wherein I've been so focused on what I have to do next that I'm completely missing out on all the great things that are around me. And that, I think, is a major one. But there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. What's one way that you can think of?
I'm so guilty of this one all the time. I literally, as an entrepreneur who works for myself, by myself most of the time, I struggle with this all the time.
Yeah.
Because no matter how my results are improving, again, like we just talked about, it never feels like it's enough.
Yeah.
And I prevent myself from really just like surrendering to that joy and to feeling proud and to feeling accomplished and to feeling grateful and looking around at my life and realizing what a miracle it is.
Right.
I stop myself from doing that because I have this idea in my head that if I am just joyful all day, every day, then I won't be productive. I won't get done what I need to get done. And I have this sense that like being a little mad at myself or upset with myself or frustrated is the thing that keeps me moving forward.
Wow.
So I totally sabotage my joy, thinking that means that I'll be more productive. And when I catch myself doing that, I have to remind myself, okay, the most productive way of being that we can be is inspired.
Totally.
When we're inspired, when we're joyful, we don't waste time doing stuff that isn't really in alignment with us. We do the right stuff, and we get it done quickly because we're being joyful. Whereas when we're in that state of lack, of scarcity, of being cut off, and being in our own heads, we're working really fast, but we're not really getting any of the right stuff done, which goes to another term that we have that we'll get to later.
Yes, so I was going to say, we'll definitely talk more about that later on. One other point that I want to talk about is just feeling deserving. I think that's a really big way of sabotaging joy, is when you don't feel that you deserve whatever that you've gotten. And this is something I feel like I struggle with personally. It's like, sometimes things just work out, and of course that's always a really exciting moment and a really exciting thing when things come together and you're just like, wow, especially when it happens easily. And I think I tend to discount my work in terms of like, you know, whatever steps I've done to get to a certain point, it's like I don't feel necessarily deserving of where I'm at. And that is one way that I definitely sabotage my joy. It's like I can't be happy for myself if I don't feel like I've earned it for myself, or I don't feel like I've done it on my own. And that also goes for a team. I think for anybody who's working around people or who have people working for you, it's like you start to think that those other people deserve more credit for, you know, whatever it is that you've gotten. And I think it's definitely important to acknowledge those people. I mean, anybody who's helping you along your journey is obviously a very important person whom you have to give credit to. But at the same time, I think, you know, I think it's important that we also recognize ourselves. I think you have to realize that, yes, a team effort is maybe all going towards one person, and sure, that might feel selfish to a certain degree. But if you are the driving force of said effort, and if you are the one who is really, like, pulling the freaking carriage on this, then I feel like you have to just accept that, you know, this is something I've worked for, this is something that I do deserve, and you can't beat yourself up about it. So I just wanted to throw that in. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's personal.
So those are ways that we sabotage our joy. That was the second term that we're defining of the 10 ways that dreamers get in their way and stop themselves from really feeling successful.
Totally.
So the third way we're going to talk about today that we stop ourselves from feeling successful,
Number 3,
is what we call abundance guilt.
That goes nicely into that.
It
Look at
does.
that parlay.
Exactly. So abundance, we're not just talking about financial abundance, we're also talking about abundance of connections, abundance of love in your life, abundance of people who support you, abundance of opportunities. When you experience abundance of anything and then you look around and see that there are people who don't have that sort of abundance, it's really easy to stop yourself from feeling deserving, just like you're talking about.
Totally.
Because we see that not everybody else has it. And I think this is a huge, huge epidemic with entrepreneurs and with dreamers and with people who are following their hearts, because we are the kind of people that create our world. We go after what we want. And then once we have it, we also typically are very empathetic.
Definitely.
So we feel that other people don't have that.
Definitely.
And then we can step in our way and prevent ourselves from really being able to receive that abundance and appreciate it. Because we think that we don't deserve it. And again, like I was talking about before, we think that if we don't feel guilty about our abundance, and if we do just feel grateful, then we're going to stop getting stuff done, and we're going to stop earning the abundance. Because we have this sense that abundance comes from doing, rather than being who we are.
Totally. I want to touch on that because I feel like there's a topic that I think a lot of people would relate to, which is feeling that kind of abundance guilt in relation to your loved ones. I often think about kind of the jobs and careers of my family, the jobs and careers of my friends, and how my job and career is so different from theirs. I think anyone who's an entrepreneur can relate because most of the world is not. an entrepreneur. I think, you know, joining the workforce in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like is definitely the norm. So to be an entrepreneur, to be running your own business or trying to do something for yourself is something that is quote unquote abnormal. And I think that my life is pretty great. Like, I really say that with all honesty. Like, I feel so fortunate and so lucky to be able to do the things that I do, to be following my passion, my dream, and to be able to sustain myself on that. And with that being said, it's like, it feels so wrong for me to kind of talk about it or flaunt that to the people that I love when either A, they're unhappy in their situation, B, they don't understand what my life is, how do you make money as a songwriter, how do you work in music, like what is that about, or C, they don't respect or appreciate it, you know? It's like if somebody's looking at what I do as like kind of a fake job or as something that isn't going to make you money or whatever, if they have any type of negative feelings about like what you do, it's like you just don't want to talk about it. And I start to feel guilty sometimes because of the things that I do have. I'm like, you know, I have a fulfilled life, I have at this point a pretty fulfilled career, and so sometimes I do feel really guilty about that. It's like it's hard to kind of share those things with people if they don't either A, understand or have kind of a similar mindset, whether they're an entrepreneur as well or they also work in music or whatever, you know. It's like if that kind of level field isn't there, it gets a little uncomfortable.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think this also is abundance guilt in terms of feeling guilty about the amount of freedom that we have. The amount of freedom to choose what we want to do with our time. The amount of freedom to choose where we want to get our work done.
Definitely.
I get to travel all over the place. You know, I'm planning a trip to South Africa right now to do a retreat, to Portland, to, oh, we gotta talk about that. That's where this girl's from. To Hawaii, all these places, and I get to go do what I love.
That's
and
crazy.
You know, my work really comes in ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
So there's time when I just have so much free time.
Totally.
And then I see that all the people in my life are working 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So then I inflict this like really rigidness upon myself because I feel guilty that I have that kind of freedom, and it's hard for me to sometimes compartmentalize and say it's okay, like your workday doesn't have to look like everybody else's workday. You can end at 4 p.m. and go on a hike if you want to because you're in control of your time and how much you get done. So we gotta stop that.
That's a big one. That's a big one. But also to speak to people who do have 9 to 5s, there's literally nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. We both just so happen to be entrepreneurs, and trust, there's been times in my life where I have worked a 9 to 5. So with that being said, it's like one of those things where I think abundance guilt does apply to everyone. I think if we just talk about wealth, as opposed to this whole, okay, I live an entrepreneur's life and nobody gets me, whatever. If we just talk about wealth in general, I think that abundance is something that is definitely frowned upon. Why? Because I think people, like, basically you compare abundance with excess. I think if you look at anybody who has a lot of things, who has nice things, all of a sudden, it's like, there's shade. People start throwing shade. People start thinking like, okay, you don't need to own all of this, or you don't need to be living where you live, or wow, how much is your car payment? Like, any of that stuff. And I feel like if you've worked for that, if you've truly worked for all of your things, who is to say what you can and can't spend your money on? Who is to say how you can and can't live your life? Like, don't feel guilty for the wealth that you've acquired. I think if it's something that you feel proud about, it's like, screw anyone who thinks that you shouldn't have what you have, because good for you.
And even if you haven't per se worked for it, like maybe somebody got really lucky and got an inheritance, or won the lottery, whatever. If you have abundance, appreciate it. Allow yourself to receive what that abundance can bring. We act like there's this like pool of abundance that the entire world shares.
Yeah.
And then if somebody has a lot of it, there's less for other people.
Right.
But then this creates this divide between haves and have-nots where we can't really talk about what we need. And I focus more on being abundant, on being grateful, on being able to receive, on being connected, on being loving.
Yeah.
And then from those ways of being, and from your good feeling place, then you'll naturally want to be generous.
Totally.
You'll naturally want to share what you have with other people and
Totally.
use it in creative ways and use it to make a difference.
Totally.
Whereas if you're coming from scarcity and guilt and shame, then you're going to feel ostracized, you're going to hide yourself, you're
Right.
not going to be connected to other people, and
Right.
you're probably not going to make a difference.
Amen. So true.
So let's stop shaming people who have abundance.
Don't be
and let's
guilty,
stop
yeah.
feeling guilty for it.
Seriously. Absolutely. Absolutely. The no shame part is a big one as well. Don't shame your friends. Okay, so next thing that we are going to be discussing is called a possibility hangover. So, really quick, I think our Instagram live is about to disappear. So, for anyone who is watching right now on
We have 20%.
IG Live, we're gonna just go until the phone dies, and then at that point, feel free to switch over to Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Rachel West, and you can watch it live with us right now. Or we are definitely filming this on YouTube. You guys will have access to this video, and we'll get to see whatever you miss. So don't worry. Okay, possibility hangover. This is number 4. Let's see. Okay, Brand, I'm gonna need you to remember what this one.
All right.
Stop.
Yep. So possibility hangover is when we get really excited about new ideas or dreams,
Mhm.
and then the source of inspiration leaves. Like we leave that conference, or we leave that really inspiring friend, or we leave that trip, and we go back to our normal lives, and everything's like womp womp womp. And all of a sudden we're like, why did I want to do that? Why did I think that I could do that? Why did I commit to that?
Right.
And we can't connect ourselves to that source of inspiration, and we allow the doubt and the resignation and the fear to take over.
Yeah.
And we detach from the inspired ideas that we have.
Got you. So I think, that makes sense. So if you think about a hangover, right? If you are having a great time and drinking, you're going to wake up the next day and all of a sudden it's not fun anymore. All of a sudden life is boring again. And so let's talk about how that relates to life. I think especially, that happens so often. Like I think if you are at an event or if you are performing on stage and you're in front of a million people, all of a sudden it's crazy exciting. Like it's so shocking. It's such a stark difference of that feeling of when you're in a moment that is exciting and happy to waking up the next day and being like, okay, that's not happening anymore. And I think that is probably one of my biggest motivators, honestly.
So term 5 is what we call irrational doubt.
Yes. Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Oh man, irrational doubt. So this is when you're trying to go for that next thing, that next big level, whatever that is for you. For me, it's trying to fill an event of 200 people in a live event. And every single time, without fail, as soon as I commit to something bigger than I have in the past, all of this doubt and fear comes up like crazy, and it takes this hold on me. And we call it irrational doubt because we discount all of the things that we've done in the past that have succeeded.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like when you're in high school and you're preparing for that history test.
Yeah.
And you're like, I totally fail. I'm totally gonna fail. I'm totally gonna fail. Like, it's so black and white. It's not like maybe I'm gonna get a B. It's like I'm going to literally fail and drop out.
Yep.
And we have this irrational doubt and irrational fear that discounts the fact that in the past 100 times that we felt like we were gonna fail that test, we didn't. We actually came out fine every single time.
Guilty, 100%.
So what would you add about irrational doubt?
Okay, yes. I think the school test one is actually really good. That's a great analogy because I felt that so much in school. But I think this is one that I'm so guilty of. It's crazy. Anytime that you have these fears, I think literally just in a general sense that something is not going to work out, it's how many times in your life have things worked out? I can pretty much say that the times that things have worked out versus not worked out are exponentially greater. And I mean that in the sense of maybe they don't work out in the way that you necessarily wanted them to or in the way that it was planned. But were you ever left feeling as though, you got significantly less than what you expected? I feel no. It's that's the difference, I think, is when you really start thinking that, I don't know, just that you're gonna fail that, you know, I don't know, you're gonna end up homeless, whatever it is. It's like we go to these extremes in our heads where it's like, it's just gonna end so badly. And it's like, sometimes it's not even that big of a deal. Whatever it is you're worrying about is not even that significant or that important, but you start making it this thing where it's like, if this one thing doesn't work out, my life is over. And it's like, how many times have we psyched ourselves out, and how many times have we made ourselves believe that we have everything riding on one thing happening? Like, that doesn't really happen that often, but at the same time, then think about, your life has never collapsed, you've never been destroyed, there's never been this like huge, like, I don't know, thing out of the sky that comes and wrecks your experience. Like, no, nothing has ever been that bad. And I mean, there are things that we get blindsided by, absolutely, and there's things, you know, that happen to people that are awful, horrible, but more often than not, those are kind of these random coincidences or random things of fate or destiny that happen outside of just our everyday fears and doubts. You know, it's like, this is not going to end your life. Whatever it is that you're stressing about right now, I just want to say this so everybody gets this, whatever it is you're stressing about right now will not destroy your life. It's not going to happen. It's really just not going to happen. So I think we have to really do better at letting go of those fears and those doubts. I don't know how many of you are religious. I happen to be, and I feel like God has my back. Like, at the end of the day, and I've said this so many times, like, God has my back. Whether you believe in the universe or you believe in a different God, I respect all of it. But I know that at the end of the day, there is a greater person or a greater something that is looking out for me and making sure that everything's going to be okay. And it has. It's always been okay. So it's like, why would you ever think that it's not?
Yeah.
It's always going to be okay. I know it sounds so cliche to say,
But sometimes I feel like the universe tests us, tests our trust, tests our faith. Every retreat that I've ever held, beforehand, I've always been like, nobody's going to come. Literally nobody's going to register. I'm going to have paid for this nice home and for all of these accommodations, and we're not going to have a single person there.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it really looks like that's the case.
Yeah.
It'll be weeks and weeks and nobody will register, and then at the very last moment, it'll fill up completely, and it'll be the exact number that I was intending.
Yeah.
But still, every time, I just booked a space for a retreat today, and still all that irrational doubt came up for me, and was like, this is going to be the one that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Even though the 10 past retreats that we've done have all been
fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all worked out.
I kind of remember doing this when I was like 15, and I was worried that nobody was ever going to kiss me. I was like, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the 40-year-old woman that's never been kissed.
Amen.
That's totally going to be me.
Amen.
And then, of course, as soon as it happens, you look back on it and you're like, that was so silly. I can't believe that I doubted it.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to see at the time until now that it's defined, maybe you'll be able to call yourself out next time.
Totally. Be like, why am I being crazy? It literally makes you sound crazy when you realize that all of the positives outweigh the negatives, and yet you're choosing to focus on those. Like, that is crazy. But I also want to just say one last thing about that, which is, I think it's a really big point to our confidence. You know, it's like when we really start sitting there and thinking about all the things that have worked out for us, be confident in that. Be confident in you did something right. You showed up for yourself. You pulled yourself through whatever situation that was, whatever trial you were faced with. You got yourself to the other side in the past, which is why you're still standing here today. And really be confident moving forward. I think that's a huge thing in helping us kind of realize that we have what it takes to get ourselves to the other side of whatever it is that we're facing. So, just wanted to end on that. But that was number 5. So, moving on to number 6, yeah? You ready? Okay.
I'm excited about this.
This is a good one.
All right, we're good.
We're still here on Instagram. Thank you for everybody who's watching and joining us on Facebook right now. And again, to our our YouTube family who's over here. Hopefully this camera got most of what we talked about. I don't know at what point it decided to go to sleep on us, but we're gonna work it out. Moving on to number 6. Here we go. This is you, I think, right? Or is this me?
I think it's you.
Okay, it's me. This is great. I'm really excited. Oh yeah, it is. Excited possibility hangover. Okay. This next one is one of my personal favorites, which is pageant syndrome. This one is, I just love the name, first of all. Pageant syndrome is like hilarious. Like, I think what we mean by pageant syndrome, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a minute since we created this list. But okay, what I think I remember that we created pageant syndrome for is basically this idea. Okay, nope. Nope, I tried to fake my way through it, guys. I'm gonna be totally honest. I totally just tried to fake that, and I have no idea why we did pageants. It was one of my favorites before, and now I can't remember what it means.
I love that you're trying to buy yourself time.
I was like, that's great. It's really a good one, guys. This is really, it's my favorite, personal favorite of all time. This is really good. You guys are gonna get something great. I'm
waiting
and
for something to
pageant syndrome.
All right, so pageant syndrome, like a pageant, like a beauty contest. I do know what
I'm like sweating. I got so nervous on that one. I started sweating. Okay.
I love how you're like, this one's yours, right? Okay.
I was like, okay, go ahead, take it.
So pageant syndrome is when we treat everything like it's do or die. You know, when if you're in a beauty pageant, like if you have one hair out of place, that could be the reason that you're kicked out of the contest. If you even trip ever so slightly, and it's this illusion that we always have eyes on us, and that there's always cameras on us, and that everything we do is going to be analyzed, and that everything is like black or white, do or die, make or break.
Totally.
When in reality, almost nothing you do is make or break.
So true.
And we can take a lot of that pressure off because most of the time nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Most of the time nobody cares.
So true.
That little mistake that you made that you've been dwelling on, nobody else noticed whatsoever. You do not have a panel of judges that are sitting there
So
that are going to hold up scorecards for you. You are your biggest critic.
So true. This is a really good one.
Yeah.
I'm glad I remembered what this was. Just kidding. That was all Brandy. Thanks for saving us. So, yes, but to speak on this one, absolutely. I think that idea of everything being make or break, like, I'll just pull the first thing that comes to my head, which is, I don't know how many of you have ever felt guilty for taking a day off or for giving yourself space to breathe or time to rest or relax or reboot, whatever that is. It's like, I started feeling so bad about myself because it's like you feel that need to always be on. You feel that need to always be performing. It's like that's the whole pageant syndrome idea, right? Is that you're constantly ready, camera ready, judge ready. And it's like that is absolutely exhausting. And for all the people who can do it 100% of the time, I think you're lying. But good for you. Good for you. Because your average person cannot. And I am one of those people who absolutely needs time to just not. Like, I mean, I need days where I don't put my makeup on. I need days where I don't do my hair. I need days where I just sit and think about what I'm gonna do next. I can't be on all the time. If I'm on all the time, I have no time to plan ahead. I have no time to appreciate what I have. I have no time to, you know, take in the things that have come. Like, I think it's so important that we let that go. Let go of this idea that you constantly have to be turned on and that you constantly have to be performing. And like Brandy said, it's like, who's really judging you? If you take a day off for yourself, or if you even take a couple hours to nap, whatever it is you need to do, it's like, who's there? Me. So why do I feel so crappy? Why do I feel like there's somebody watching and telling me that I should be doing more, doing better? It's like, that's completely illusional, and you really need to appreciate that. I don't know, I think it's just important that we appreciate that when we're on, and when we're off. It's like those two things are separate, and that is okay. Anything else you want to add? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the first thing that comes up to me. It's just like, take the time you need, take the space that you need, even at your own pace. Like, if we're talking about this, the pace at which we get things done, the pace at which we're moving in our lives or our careers, the only person who's judging you in terms of, you know, you're not doing this fast enough, you're not doing this good enough, is typically you. Unless you have, you know, an awful boss breathing down your neck telling you you're not doing it fast enough, you're not doing it good enough, then okay, maybe that's somebody you need to be talking to. But at the same time, it's like, I think we do create a lot of internal pressure, and that's a huge no-no.
Yeah, well, and we have to recognize that judgments are never actually coming from the outside. If we're worried about a judgment, it's because we have it against ourselves. We are our only judges that exist.
So real.
And what kind of judge are you? Are you a Simon Cowell and you're nasty with yourself all of the time for everything you do? Or are you a, what's her name? What's the nice one? Paula, yeah, or are you a Paula? Okay, so be a Paula to yourself. It's just not necessary for you to be a Simon.
Yeah.
And I think like we tend to freak out about the tiniest of things.
Yeah.
If we gain some weight or if we have a breakout on our face, we think that somehow that means that our business is going down the drain.
Amen.
Or we try to make our lives perfect, especially if you're in the space of like being a leader or the space of transformation or empowerment. We're in this illusion that means that our lives have to look absolutely perfect everywhere, and then we stress about the tiniest little disagreement or the tiniest, way that something didn't go as intended.
Yeah.
And just let it go. It's fine. Nobody's watching, and you're your biggest critic, and you're not in a pageant, and all that matters is that you believe in yourself. Nobody else has to give you permission.
Yeah.
You don't have to get 9s or 10s on scorecards from other people in order for you to believe in yourself. I mean, think about what's her name, Susan Boyle, right? She
Oh my
went
God,
on
yes.
stage and everyone was like,
Who would have thought? How
And
old was
she-
she? Like maybe like I don't know, upper 30s. People tell you can't have a music career after you're like, I don't know, certain age. And she was the most unassuming person.
all that mattered was that she believed in herself.
Absolutely.
And that shone through, and that made her successful.
Absolutely.
I think we did that one.
Shout out to Susan if you're watching.
Hashtag Susan Boyle.
Hashtag Susan Boyle.
All right, so what are we on? Number 6 now?
Yeah, 7. This is number 7.
All right, so the 7th way that we stop ourselves from feeling successful. And that is, I'm glad I got this one because
Yeah, this
I'm
is Brandy.
so guilty of this. This is so me.
Everyone.
So it's counterproductive franticness. So it's when we are in that mode of, oh my God, I gotta get everything done, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, and I gotta do this.
Yeah.
And we think that if we're just faster and more frantic and do things with more stress, then that's going to get things done better and faster.
Amen.
When in reality, that's when you end up opening your flour bag and flour goes all over your kitchen, and then you have to spend 30 minutes sweeping and cleaning it up.
So real.
Because the frantic, police come back and haunt you.
Seriously. Seriously.
And it totally, I can't stress enough that we are most productive, we are most efficient, we are most effective when we are in our joy, when we are in inspiration, when we are in our flow. If you're being frantic, then that means that you're coming from scarcity, that you're stressed out, you're coming from stress and fear.
Yeah.
So we have to intentionally shift out of that and shift into joy and love and peace and act from that place and know that that doesn't mean we're going to be lazy asses and sit on the couch and do nothing.
Right.
That means that we're going to do the right stuff and it's going to actually produce the results that we want.
Totally. I think to speak to that too, I think it's so easy. It's so easy to get into that state of stress and overwhelm. And I think, especially for those who have high anxiety, it's one of those things where you just constantly feel this need to be going, doing. And that can be your downfall in so many ways. Like, I think one of the ways that I kind of manage my own stress is really to set realistic goals for yourself. I think that's one thing that I see so many of my friends do, and a lot of people in my life, is they start setting all these goals. Like, if you put your list of what you're going to do for the day as like a 20-item list that you know is not going to happen, but you're going to push yourself as hard as you can to get it done and fall short at the end, and you probably know ahead of time, I'm probably not going to get all these things done today, but I'm going to put them all on the list and bust my ass to make it happen. That is not productive in my eyes. In my eyes, that's not productivity. Productivity is setting those realistic goals so that, going back to what Brandy said, you can stay in a state of peace and a state of joy. Because if you're stressed out trying to accomplish all those things on your list, why not shorten the list, do what you know you can accomplish for that day, and not beat yourself up about it? Because I think that's what happens. If we don't complete that list, if we don't complete all the things that we said we were going to set out to do, we beat ourselves up and we, blame ourselves for not being good enough in whatever way, shape, or form to make those things happen. And so I think organization is a huge thing. I think you can organize your life in such a way that you can make things less stressful for you. But also, I think going back to what she said also, just realize that is the most productive that you can be. It's when you are living in joy, when you're living in peace, when you're not stressed, when you're not living in anxiety. All of those things only create more chaos around you. It's like, whether it be your living space, your relationships, whatever it is, recognize that state of franticness shows up all over your life. And that's why it's counterproductive in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
Okay, just brought back. Counterproductive friend.
And I think it relates back to two of the terms we defined earlier, which were abundance, guilt, and joy sabotage.
Absolutely.
Because frantic is just a symptom of us believing that we can't be happy and joyful all the time because we don't deserve what we have.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, well, if I'm just stressed out and frantic and upset all the time and constantly in a state of fight or flight, then I'll deserve the abundance that I get because I'll have earned it with my stress and disease.
Right.
Yeah.
Lame. It's just straight up lame. Anything else we want to talk with you? Say anything more about that one?
Oh, I think that's good.
I think that's good. Hopefully that was good for you guys. Okay, next one is guilt-dependent motivation. Ooh, I actually came up with this one, and I'm not lying. This time I actually know what it's about. Okay. So guilt-dependent motivation. This is something we kind of touched on earlier. For those of you who missed it, it'll be good to, I think, do a recap of this one because I do think it is very important. So I would say raise your hand, but I'm not going to be able to see you raise your hands. Raise your hand. I will raise mine starting off the bat. If you've ever made yourself feel bad in order to motivate yourself. That is something that I do so often. It's like if I'm laying in bed and say I've been laying in bed for too long in my own eyes, it's like, all right, okay, it's 11 o'clock. You need to like do something with your day. I would go through a whole mental process of being like, think of all the things you could be doing right now. You could be working out. You could be writing music. You could be doing something for a friend. You could be doing so many things. And here you are, laying in bed. Like, I sit there and will literally start having this dialogue and this conversation with myself in order to motivate myself to get up. And I mean, while that's, some people might say that's a good thing, at least that you have that dialogue that tells you to get up and get out of bed. But at the same time, I always think about how gross it is to start your day like that. Why would you start your day beating yourself down as opposed to lifting yourself up? So rather than coming from the perspective of like, shame on you for not doing enough, coming from the angle of, why do you want to get out of bed today? What's going to excite you to get out of bed today? What things do you have to look forward to? And I think that mindset is so different, and it's also just a very fine line though, because I think it's like all of the things you should be doing versus all the things you can do, It's like that should and that can are the things that trip us up, and that's why we end up, I think, getting in this guilt. That guilt is what starts to creep in after a certain amount of time. But that it's dangerous, man. It's dangerous, and I do it all the freaking time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, I think it goes back to a lot of what we've been talking about. It seems like there's a theme here of us believing that we're only going to be motivated if we feel bad. That feeling bad, that feeling upset, that feeling guilty is the only and the best motivator.
Amen.
I think another way to describe this is actually a term that my boyfriend tells me to avoid all the time because I'm so guilty of this.
Oh, what is it?
And he calls it double effing yourself. Like just double screwing yourself. So you're lying in bed, it's 11 o'clock, so you're kind of screwing yourself first over by, lying in bed until 11 o'clock, but then you're screwing yourself over again by being mad at yourself for it and feeling guilty about it. Like if you're gonna eat a batch of cookies, you might as well enjoy it rather than eating the batch of cookies and then also feeling guilty and ashamed about it. So it's just like pick one, Do it and feel really good about it and give yourself permission to really enjoy it, or don't do it. And either one is totally fine, and we have to give ourselves permission to choose and enjoy whatever choice we make.
Totally.
So know that you're going to get the most done when you're feeling good, and when you're not getting stuff done, that's actually totally fine. It's not like that's objectively wrong and somebody's going to stamp like lazy, unproductive on your forehead. Totally. It's fine to let yourself enjoy it, and by you enjoying it and really relishing in that experience, it's going to charge you up so that the next time when you are getting ready to go do a lot of work, you feel better because you've given yourself a break. You've given yourself permission to kind of step out of the lines a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think, again, for any of you who have goals, for any of you who have dreams, whether those be small or big, I think it's important to never feel guilty about not accomplishing those things. It's like, if you really want it for yourself, want it for yourself. But don't beat yourself up because it hasn't happened yet, or don't make yourself feel bad because you haven't accomplished what you said you were going to accomplish. I think at the end of the day, it does nothing for us to be inflicting those negative thoughts on ourselves. And at the end of the day, it's like, again, a cliche, but you are your own biggest cheerleader. It's like, if you really want something, if you really want to go for something, you need to be motivating yourself in a way that is positive. You can't be motivating yourself in a way that is negative, because that is sabotage. That's self-sabotage for real.
No.
Yeah. Amazing.
Let me. This keeps.
Oh, and we're still hanging on to the Instagram.
No, we're not.
Oh, no, we're not.
Well, oh well.
Oh, our Instagram family is gone.
Instagram died. Here,
Sorry.
Let's see if.
Sorry, IG.
Oh, whatever.
We'll miss you.
All right, that's fine. We still got some other platforms
We
hanging on here.
do.
Thanks,
We
y'all.
do. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube.
All right, so the next, this is number 9, so we just have 2 more.
2 more.
And the next one is expansion resistance, where we resist our own expansion, and I think we do this for a number of different reasons. Number 1 being that we believe that if we expand, then we're going to lose people. Like if I become super successful, then people aren't going to relate to me.
Yeah.
They're going to see me as like out of their league, and they're not going to want to be friends with me anymore. They're not going to want to support me anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get the support of my friends and family and parents, because they're going to be like, oh, she's fine. So it's like I'm going to disappear, and people aren't going to pay attention to me anymore. And also, we resist our own expansion because we know that with success comes responsibility.
Absolutely.
So, and this doesn't just have to be expansion in terms of business success, it's also your own inner expansion.
Yeah.
Like your own awakening, your own coming into yourself. I think we believe that if we really allow that expansion, then we're not going to be gotten by people in our life anymore. We're going to be like weird.
Yeah.
People are going to think that we're selfish. All of these things that we've talked about in the past, abundance guilt, all of that, it's us stopping ourselves from really expanding and stepping into our power.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of what people will think, and we're afraid that it'll be too much responsibility, that we can't handle it.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I think about with this point is the idea that you can or you can't have it all. I think that when it comes to expansion, we start to doubt that we can have more. And that, I think, is something that a lot of people can relate to. Again, I'd say raise your hand if you've ever felt like you can't have it all. I think we would all raise our hands, because I do think it's very true. I think we psych ourselves out, and I think that happens for a lot of reasons. Definitely the idea that with that comes more responsibility. That's a huge thing. But also really asking ourselves what that's going to require of us to expand and to have more, and in this case, to have it all. I think that is something you really have to figure out for you. I think it's an easy thing to say, don't resist expansion. And I think that growing is always a beautiful thing. But how you grow and in what directions you go, you have to figure out for yourself. Possibility paralysis is our last point for today, which I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this one goes back to the idea of when you have so much possibility in your life, and so many dreams and so many things that you want to do and want to accomplish, that it actually becomes paralyzing. Wherein all of those things start to become overwhelming, we start getting stressed out, and put a pause on it basically as a result. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I think we start making excuses. I think we start really, discounting some of those dreams or some of those things that we want because of the fact that we think it's going to either require too much, we're going to have to do too much, whatever that is. Like, I think we literally shut down as a result of that. And I think that the other thing is we start kind of making ourselves believe that certain things aren't attainable, that certain goals that we have for ourselves or certain things that we want just aren't going to happen, and such, we shut it down. Am I right? Am I right on this? Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Just had to make sure.
Yeah, they've actually done like sociological studies on this, where they went to a college campus, and they did different iterations of, they just have one event a night.
Okay.
Like they'd have one really cool event, and then they'd see how many people showed up. And then on another night, they would have 2 events. And then on another night, they'd have 3 events. And all the events were all super cool, like students would be super interested in these events.
Yeah.
And all across the board at all of the colleges that they tested this at, when there were more cool events on a night, less students total showed up. to all of the events.
So people just didn't go at all.
People were like, oh my god, there's multiple cool things that I could do tonight. I don't want to have to choose the wrong one and go to the wrong event and miss out on the cooler event, so I'm just not going to go to any of them so that I don't make the wrong choice.
Ain't that?
And that's so possibility paralysis, because we're like, oh my god, there's so many wonderful things that I could do with my life.
Totally.
That I'm afraid of choosing the wrong one.
Totally.
And so I'm just not going to do anything and totally avoid it whatsoever and numb myself and totally check out from life and forget that all of this stuff was possible for me, because that seems easier.
Yes. And it is. I think it is. It's always easier to do nothing.
Yeah.
It's always easier to choose no. I think that saying yes is one of the scariest things that you can do sometimes. But more often than not, of course, you always are glad that you did. But I think it's so difficult sometimes to talk yourself into going for what you want. And I think if you're watching right now, let this just be your daily reminder that you can do it. You can do it. You can go for it. Whatever it is. Whether it be, I just need to get myself up and go to the grocery store and I've been sitting in sweatpants all day and I just need to do that so that I have food in the house. You can get yourself up and go to the grocery store. I think anything that is against your dreams is not for you. You know, it doesn't serve you. Even if what you assume is a negative, for example, I'll speak to my own personal journey with songwriting and with being an artist. So I started off being an artist, performing, making my own music, and I told myself I didn't want to be a songwriter because I thought being a songwriter was a cop-out. I thought being a songwriter had nothing to do with my artist career, and that was in fact going to hinder my artist career because I'd be spending time in a place that didn't serve me. When in fact, that was a complete story that I made up, because being a songwriter has only helped my artist career, and sure, you know, I have to find ways to balance the two, but they're both serving the same goal. They're both serving the same dream, and in order for me to be where I want to be in my career, it involves both. And it also, you know, it's not like one is hurting the other. They really do help, and they really do align in terms of getting me to that end point. And so I think that's what we really have to look at, or what are the things that are actually helping us to accomplish what we want, and what are the things that are actually hindering us. And if it's helping, you gotta stop being paralyzed. You have to stop being paralyzed. You have to take steps. And I think that we also have to look at baby steps versus big steps. I think the baby steps are okay. I think we think that it needs to happen tomorrow, when in fact, you know, it's like, I think that's why we get paralyzed. We think we have to take these giant leaps to be moving forward. And then in fact, you know, one little thing at a time can actually add up to where it is you're trying to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first thinking about starting my business, and I had all of these things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to be a columnist, I wanted to write a book, I wanted to coach people, I wanted to host retreats, I wanted to host live events, I wanted to do YouTube, I wanted to have a podcast, I wanted to take, it was like, and it was so crazy making, because I was like, which thing do I pick?
Right.
Thinking that I had to just choose one thing and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I procrastinated for years on really taking a leap and going after it,
Yeah.
out of this fear, out of this possibility paralysis,
Yeah.
this fear that I was going to pick the wrong thing. And what I've realized now that I'm a while into this business is that I started with one thing. I started with writing, and then I added on coaching to it, and then I added on retreats, and then I added on, and I think sometimes when you're meant to do something, all roads lead to the same thing.
Amen.
Even if it seems totally different.
Yep.
Maybe you're struggling between, do I want to go into the finance industry, or do I want to lead adventure retreats around the world? And maybe if you choose the finance industry, you're going to meet that person in a couple of years that'll convince you to go do the travel thing, and then you'll be more ready then.
Yeah.
So we can just let go of this fear of, oh my god, what if I choose the wrong thing? Because truly, if you're meant to do something, it will come back around,
Totally.
and it will present itself at the
Totally.
right time.
Believe that, you guys.
So just pick something and then make the most of it. There's no right answer. There's no way of you missing out and doing it wrong. Just make the most of whatever thing you choose.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no right answer. That's a big one. That's
Yeah.
a big one. We think that whatever we choose is got to be the thing that gets us to where we're going, you know? It's like, no, there's definitely things that happen and things that come into our lives that will kind of put us back on the right path if that's where we're meant to go. So, yeah. Dude, I think we made it. We did it. All done. Woo. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. This could have just been us blabbering to ourselves, because we literally have conversations like this all the time, and we'll just sit and talk about life and all these things. So we decided to share them with the world in case anyone else found them interesting. But if you did, make sure you share this video with your friends so that they too can take something away from it. If you're watching right now on YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe and let us know below in the comment section if you want us to do any more videos like this. Ask us any questions you may have, and we'll make sure that we respond. Brandy's YouTube page is
Brandilyn Tebow, so it's Brandilyn.
And same for
Tebow, Tebo.
Sorry. I didn't mean to cut her off. So it's Brandilyn Tebow, and if you're watching on Facebook and you want to follow Brandy's YouTube page, she posts 3 with B segments where she gives you life coaching on things that matter to you in 3 minutes or less. So make sure you guys tune into her YouTube channel as well. My YouTube channel from my Facebook family who's watching is Rachel S. West. If you go to youtube.com/Rachel S. West, then you can find my YouTube page. And wow, I can't believe we did it. I'm like really hyped. We did it. Thank you guys again so much for watching.
And be sure to comment and tell us which one was most important, because then we can do another video and elaborate more on that one.
Totally.
So which one do you struggle with most, and how can we support you in overcoming that so that your dreams are real and possible?
Amen. All right, guys, we love you so much. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys again real soon.
Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.
Bye.